Well, looks like we are about ready to start round one, so we're going to head down to the feature match where we're going to be watching Dillingham play against, you know, I forgot his name. We talked Jordan
Ferret. Yeah.
Jordan Ferret. We're going to have him playing here. Looks like he's going to be on, he's usually either on Burn or Dredge. He went with Burn today. Ross Merriam signing his deflecting palms last night. Turns out Jordan actually beat Ross in an open some years ago with a deflecting palm on your thinking ice, huh?
Yeah. Awoken Horror dealt me 7 damage. That was not fun.
All right. Well, here we go. We got Dillingham on your right. We got Jordan Ferret on your left. Jordan's going to be on the play. Leads with Sacred Foundry untapped and suspending a Rift Bolt.
And that's a bit of a tough start from Burn. You always want to start on a creature, especially in the play. You know, the earlier you can get those creatures down and get them dealing damage, get more value out of those. If you can get a Goblin Guide or a Swift Spear that deals 4, so
absolutely
really big deal. But there's a Goblin Guide off the top.
Yeah, peel the Goblin Guide for a turn. Probably going to be getting that into the red zone. Instead, going to go for Skewer the Critics, maybe playing around some of those early removal spells from Dylan. Just wants to deal the damage while he can. Seems like he's stuck on 1 land. Dylan going to go ahead and fetch, probably for a Triumph to solidify that early 4-color mana base so he doesn't take too much damage from his mana.
Yeah, that's what I would expect here. I think the skewer there is Jordan considering that, you know, he's stuck on 1 land, and the Spectacle can sometimes be hard to come by.
Right.
Especially against a deck that has a lot of free spells to stop those haste creatures. So
yeah, Solitude, a big deal there. Like Solitude stopping the Goblin Guide and not dealing any damage that turn. Maybe the skewer gets stranded in your hand for a little too long.
Yep.
Turn 2 for Dylan. He's going to untap, draw. Plays a Misty Rainforest, says go.
That is counterspell mana up for Dylan. I assume that is a Triumph of some kind.
Honestly, I'm not even going to call him. He's got his mana. He's probably got his mana. Goblin Guide going to come down here on turn number 3 from Jordan, about 2 turns later than you would normally like. And Dylan immediately fetches, probably looking for basic island, and so counterspell probably going to be coming here. That's maybe good news for Jordan, though, because Counterspell usually needs to be targeting those burn spells, and the removal spells from Dylan needs to be targeting the creatures. So if I'm Jordan, I think Counterspell on the Goblin Guide here is an absolute win.
Yeah, I think it's fine, but you got to think if the Scare the Critics and the Goblin Guide were cast in the other order, that Goblin Guide would have gotten in for 4. Yep. And would still be on the battlefield. You know, maybe your Skewer gets countered, but you're still plus a damage, and you still have the Goblin Guide as a threat. So punished there for the decision to play the Skewer on turn 2 instead of the top deck Goblin Guide.
Yep. Dylan plays the Mistress Bauble, cycles it, says go. Jordan draws for turn, finds a second land. He's going to go for a Boar Charm EOT. Dylan with no plays on his 3rd or 4th turn. Yeah. Boar Charm going to resolve. Dylan's down to 8. This is scary territory here for Dillingham, our leaderboard number 1.
Because the one thing about the burn deck, you know, yeah, there are games where you miss those early land drops, but once you hit the lands, you got a fistful of burn.
Yeah, Lava Spike here for Jordan. 2 lightning bolts in hand. Is he going to go for the kill this turn?
Decides not to go for it. I actually kind of like going for it here because if Dylan has the counter spell, then he can't hard cast a Solitude.
Yeah, first lightning bolt resolves. I think Dylan's hand's full of elementals. I don't think he has an out here. And another lightning bolt going upstairs, and Dillingham down the game. Jordan Ferret takes game 1 in blazing fashion.
And I think this is I think this is a matchup that Jordan was expecting to see. You know, everyone expects 4-color, especially in paper and modern these days. And I think that's a reason to be playing burn right now. You know, Omnath, super threatening, but not a lot of other threatening cards in their deck.
Right, you know, very reactive, and their mana base usually deals them somewhere between 4 and 8 damage over the course of a game if they're forced to fetch those shocks early to interact.
Yeah, otherwise they're fetching a Triumph on turn 1 and not interacting unless they're costing themselves card advantage with a pitch elemental.
Fury. So really impressive stuff from the burn deck. No turn 1 creature and able to take it down easily on the 5th turn with just a flurry of burn spells. We're going to be looking up the sideboards here to give you an idea of what's going to be coming in from both sides. From Jordan's side, on the burn side, you have to imagine there's got to be like some skull cracks and things of that nature to prevent the life gain.
I got to flip through Jordan's deck last night.
Oh, yeah.
Dinner when I was signing the
here we go.
Palms, so.
Tell me what you think's coming in. Let's take a look.
So I see 2 Deflecting Palm, 2 Path Exile, 4 Roiling Vortex, 3 Sanctifier and back, 2 Smash to Smithereens, and 2 Wear Tear. And honestly, I'm really only interested in the Vortexes. Yeah. Maybe we see some Path Exiles.
I was thinking maybe Path Exile just because Omnath is so powerful. And if you can catch Omnath before they are able to hit a land drop off of, it's pretty good. Yeah. But I do agree.
And you can always path in response to the ETB trigger.
Sure. Oh yeah, that's a great point. I am in love with Rolling Vortex and Pioneer. It's one of my favorite sideboard cards for mono red, so I absolutely love it coming in here as a means to prevent life gain, but also just constant damage that doesn't get beaten down by those pitch elementals. You know, like there's something to be said about kind of like offshoot threats, and Rolling Vortex is a great offshoot threat where it's just hard to deal with.
And the 4-color deck, not known for having a great clock. So that Vortex is going to sit and play, do a lot of damage. Yeah. I think it's an easy swap for Eidolon of the Great Revel in a matchup where they have a lot of spells that have a mana cost over 3.
Yep. Even though they're free, they still have a converted mana cost of 4 or 5. So, all right, looks like both players are about ready here for game number 2. We're going to go back down to the match. Dylan going to be on the play since he lost game number 1. Jordan taking a gander. Dylan going to go ahead and mulligan to 6. Let's see if Jordan's happy with his 7. Looks like he has a Monastery Swiss Beer and a whole handful of burn and a couple lands. Both of them Sunbait Canyon as far as I can tell, though, so not going to be flooded. And life total not going to be under too much pressure, so a fairly easy keep, I think, for Jordan. But we'll see if Dylan goes to 5 or stays on 6.
Still shuffling here. I'm looking at Dylan's sideboard right now. I see a couple Flusterstorms that look great and 3 copies of Chalice of the Void.
Oh, that's sick. I am very interested in Chalice of the Void against a burn deck. The majority of their spells cost 1 or 2. If you can lock out those early burn spells and just kind of strand them in the hand and dead draws later in the game, it's going to be great. And it's very unlikely Jordan brings in something like Smash the Smithereens, which can actually take it down.
Unless these players know each other and he knows the Chalices are coming, that's a really threatening card.
Yeah. So game number 2 underway. Dylan going to go ahead and fetch a Forest. Probably has some sort of mana accelerator, I would imagine.
Maybe an Abundant Growth.
Yeah, Abundant Growth. That's a great one to pair with Yorion. Interesting, I haven't seen too many builds of Yorion that play Mishra's Bauble, but I did see a Mishra's Bauble last game from Dylan Ham. You have to imagine that maybe in this mono-red matchup against Eidolon the Great Revel, something like Mishra's Bauble and these Abundant Growths can be a liability later in the game.
Certainly, Mishra's Bauble in these 4-color decks is usually a sign that they are playing Traversial Vivald instead of Montgomery's Call.
Fair. Okay. All right, back to the game. Jordan here leading off with a Monastery Swiss Spear. Let's see if Dylan Hand can do something about it.
Has the Prismatic Ending.
Has Prismatic Ending to take it down. Let's see if Jordan can apply any more pressure. Turn 2. Has another Sunbait Canyon, so he has the land drop.
It looks like just a Fistful of Burn.
Yep. Well, Fistful of Burn's okay against a deck full removal.
Yep.
Gonna go ahead and fetch here with a Bloodstained Mire. Let's see what land he goes and gets. See if he has a thing to play or if he wants to just play burn spells during the end step.
I would like a main phase Boros Charm here. The extra point is important to force through, and you don't want to let that card get counterspelled.
I love that. Yeah, counterspell one of the preventative measures from 4-color against these burn spells, but only a couple in the deck out of 80 cards.
That said, there is the potential for a Flusterstorm here, and tapping out and letting Dylan use that 1 mana would be devastating. So if Jordan knows those Flusterstorms are there or expects them, then this play makes a lot of sense. Just suspend the Rift Bolt, has another spell to cast on the end step 2 to maybe bait a counterspell. So definitely a solid line.
All right, Dylan going to EOT, fetch up a Triumph. Looks like Ketria. I know that one. I played that one a lot in Pioneer. So
yeah. I just seen Omnath get drawn. So.
But it looks like we're going to play Teferi Time Rattler this turn since the Abundant Growth doesn't accelerate your mana, just fixes the colors and cycles. But the Teferi here, also important to note, is going to lock down that Rift Bolt. It's going to get suspended in exile basically forever.
Yeah, that's a really good Teferi.
Yeah. So a Lightning Bolt in response to Teferi, the Rift Bolt gets exiled forever. And now we head to Jordan's 3rd turn to see if he can put up any pressure here.
You know what I'm waiting for, Todd?
What?
Waiting for that Teferi to bounce out Abundant Growth.
Well, I actually imagine that Dylan might just keep ticking it up for a little while unless he's desperate to hit land drops. But because you don't want to expose it to like an attack from a Goblin Guide or something. But I feel like Jordan here is just going to main phase all his burn spells for the rest of the game. Lava Spike, main phase. You know, you have to because of Teferi. You have to just play everything main phase. So here we're just going to use all our mana every single turn and just play as many burn spells as we can.
Yep. And, Dylan at 8, we're not that far away.
Yeah, not that far away, but Dylan does have an Omnath in hand, so if he has a 4th land drop, looks like he might not have it, so he's going to bounce the Abundant Growth here, looking for something. Replays it after bouncing it, drawing an extra card. Goes for Expressive Iteration. That one's banned in Pioneer. Still legal in Modern and still very powerful.
And I see a Stomping Ground there. I imagine that will be the exile card. Yep.
Yeah, and probably going to enter tap, so it's going to be shields down here for Dylan. So if Jordan has 8 points of burn in hand that he can throw at face. I know he's got at least 6. Skewer the Critics drawn, I think? Or is that Rolling Vortex? Ooh, that might actually just shut down the Omnath permanently.
Yeah, Rolling Vortex would be great, especially because the Teferi can't bounce it for a couple turns at least. That's an excellent draw because I believe that's a Lightning Helix. I think it's a Rift Bolt, though.
I think it's a Rift Bolt, too.
And that's really awkward because he can't suspend it in the face of the Teferi.
Yeah, so he just has to pay the 3 heart mana for it, so that might actually buy Dylan enough time to get out of this. But without being able to gain life, he might have to deal with the Rolling Vortex first. All right, tapping some mana here.
Dylan knows his Omnath is not really any good.
It does draw a card, and it can actually apply some amount of pressure, and it forces Jordan to just hold up the red mana to activate multiple times over the course of 1 turn cycle if there's a fetch land involved.
The important thing is Jordan has to know he's got to respond. He's got to activate that Vortex before Dylan can play a fetch land.
Right. Another expressive iteration here. Dylan at 6, staring down the face of a Rolling Vortex and a handful of burn. This is a spot I've been in many a time, and it's very scary.
Yep.
Iteration, find another land, but does he have an answer to the Vortex? Does he have a counter spell to prevent the burn spells coming down? We'll see. Jordan takes 1 from his own Vortex. Draws, looks like a Goblin Guide. I would err on the side of caution with Goblin Guide. I might not even play it. I might just hardcast Rift Bolt. Main phase Lightning Helix is okay, too.
Well, you don't want to tap out. You want to leave a mana open for this Rolling Vortex.
Right.
Play around Omnath. Goes for the guide.
Yep. Gonna try to put some pressure on him, but Dylan has the answers here. He has multiple Solitudes in hand that he can play, so this is not gonna work out as well for him as you think.
Okay, now you know the Omnath is there, so this will go. Who takes it?
I could have sworn he had a Solitude in hand.
I think he does.
Okay,
but now
go to 4.
Or don't we just jam this Lightning Helix? There's no counterspell mana. I guess you're afraid of Flusterstorm, and it looks like there is one there. So smart there from Jordan. Could have gone for the kill because the Vortex is going to deal 1 point on the upkeep. Could have gone for that Helix and would have gotten massively punished.
Yeah. Heads up play from Jordan here. He's trying to play around as many things as possible. The Teferi makes it difficult. Vortex going to be targeted with the Teferi to return the hand and draw a card. Now we may see Dylan go for the Omnath into a land drop. In response, we have a Lightning Helix and a Fluster Sword from Dylan hand. He's going to take care of that. The Omnath going to draw a card. If he has a land drop return, he can gain 4 life.
That's tough.
Oh, and he drew a fetch land. He's going to go up to 7, and on Jordan's upkeep, he can fetch and gain 4 more life. What a swing. Omnath really, really showing off here in game number 2 of our first round.
Yeah, and could potentially make mana here, but I think in the burn matchup, you just fetch on Jordan's upkeep and get 4 more life.
Well, it looks like he's going to wait. He's going to give Jordan a chance to potentially draw a Skullcrack. I'm not sure that I love the play, but maybe these players are familiar with each other's decks. Maybe he knows that it's all Rolling Vortexes and no Skullcracks.
There's 3 Skullcracks in Jordan's main, so...
All right, well, Rolling Vortex comes down. Maybe he was just holding up the Flusterstorm. Maybe that was the big deal. Looks like we're going to play a Solitude in response. We're going to exile the Goblin Guide. That's in response to the Rolling Vortex. Maybe he's going to fetch as well. We'll see.
The Vortex makes free spells.
I forget. Yeah, there's extra clause on Rolling Vortex. That's sick. It actually just punishes all those elements.
Oh, so that's why you didn't see the Solitude against the Goblin Guide.
Yeah,
extra text on Rolling Vortex.
Good call. Look, sometimes we miss things. Thanks to chat. Thanks to Taryn for helping us out here. So Rolling Vortex looks like it's going to resolve, but Dylan could have fetched in response to gain some life, but is maybe trying to hold up that Flusterstorm for as long as possible. Now he's at a comfortable 7. He can attack and maybe even finish Jordan off here with 1 burn spell or something.
That a Beseiju?
Yeah, he's going to play a Beseiju Endures, probably going to target the Rolling Vortex, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah. Channel that Beseiju for only 1 because the Omnath is legendary, going to reduce that cost. And yeah, that's going to end the game. Yes, I think everything makes sense there. Jordan could have not gone for that Lightning Helix, but with the Teferi bouncing the Vortex, you're going to be able to gain 4 life. Like, say you activate the Rolling Vortex in response to the bounce with Teferi, You know, you can go Omnath, play a fetch land, you don't gain the life, pass, and then fetch on the upkeep and gain 4. And, you know, that's going to leave you in a good amount of... I guess you don't have to fetch in the upkeep. You can fetch in response to a burn spell or fetch in response to the Rolling Vortex, let, you know, Jordan tap out. So kind of goes for it there, hopes the Flusterstorm isn't there, and, you know, it was.
Yeah, a lot of little micro decisions in these modern games, you know, especially in a deck like Burn, where much of the game is played from the hand as opposed to on the table. Interesting choices. I
think a well-played game there from both sides, and the key was losing the Rift Bolt to the Teferi.
Yeah,
because
huge.
Dylan ended that game at 3 life.
Yeah, he did gain some, but there was a point where he was at 3 life and the Rift Bolt was gone.
Ended the relevant portion of the game.
All right, so it looks like Dylan's going to be taking another mulligan, probably going a little aggressive here, trying to find some interaction early.
Yeah, and I see an Eidolon in Jordan's hand, maybe a sideboard swap because he's on the play here for game 3. Eidolon certainly gets much better on the play. Not sure how that's going to play out in this matchup, but in a build that has Mishra's Bauble in addition to Abundant Growth, definitely
I think Eidolon's fair play here. Looks like Dylan's going to be heading down to 5, but with the London Mulligan and a bunch of those cards that do gain card advantage from Dylan's side, the Mulligan can be undone. So he's really just looking for those early interactive pieces. But you have to imagine a deck playing Solitude and Fury against a creature deck. Like, if they're mulliganing to 5, they might just be really short on resources early on. Something like Wrenn and 6 could go a long way in recouping that card advantage.
Yeah, but this is a matchup where you're not looking for a volume of cards, you're looking for specific cards.
Exactly.
You know, if you're able to interact into an Omnath, it doesn't matter if you have no cards left.
Yep. Your cards, they're not more than one card, but they turn into more than one card.
Yeah.
Starting the game off here, Jordan's going to play a Monastery Swift Spear and beat down for 1. Following that up next turn with an Eidolon the Great Revel could be a detrimental start for Dylan. His turn 1 play is going to be Abundant Growth on a Boseiju and a Passage of the Turn.
Like a basic mountain in hand, so that counter spell a little bit awkward.
Yeah, cycles of Mishra's Bauble as well. Oh. Turn 2 from Jordan reveals the Bloodstained Mire. He should probably play the Bloodstained Mire since that one's known. And he's probably going to play this here Eidolon. I would attack first. That way it might bait out one of those pitch elementals, and then you could potentially play Eidolon second. But he might actually just go for 2 burn spells here and just deal some damage while the shields are down from Dylan.
And you got to figure, even if Dylan does have a Solitude, it might be loath to use it or not even have the white card, given how light he is on resources.
Right. Gonna fetch a Sacred Fountain here. We'll see what Jordan decides to do. I love applying pressure here. I think Eidolon is such a powerful card, especially on the play, that would be my lead here, but I could certainly see you know, the logic behind wanting to just play like Lightning Bolt, and just go for the dumb, or resolving this Boros Charm underneath a Flusterstorm or some other counterspell.
Yeah, we'll see how this plays out here. You know, if Dylan has a bunch more cantrips on this next turn, it looks kind of bad. If he doesn't, it looks kind of good.
Yeah, it looks like he has a counterspell in hand, but it would require a shock. He's going to play a Tap Steam Vents and an Unholy Heat on the Monastery Swift Spear, but now seems like a great time to stick the Eidolon after the removal spell's been played, but before the counterspells are unlocked. Also has Lightning Bolt in hand, may just main phase Lightning Bolt as well, just to make sure he doesn't take damage from his own spell, as well as just making sure that, you know, those counterspells don't have much effect.
Yeah. I'm okay with not playing the Bolt first. The 2 damage for you doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
You disguise your hand a little bit. Maybe Dylan doesn't think you have another burn spell.
Yep. So Dylan plays a Temple Garden for a turn tapped, passes, does have a counterspell in hand. Jordan here looks like he's going to fire off a Bolt EOT. Let's see if Dylan responds. He's going to take it.
This is the Eidolon trigger for Jordan. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but countering the Bolt, like, you're still taking 2 from your own counterspell, so it's relatively counterintuitive.
A 3 damage burn spell is like the base value of, you know, replacement value for that counterspell.
Yeah. So Eidolon here, representing a lot of virtual damage, even if Dylan wants to interact with it. If it's not a pitch elemental, it's going to cost him 2 life. The attack here puts Dylan down to 8. Post-combat looks like we're going for maybe a Lava Spike, but maybe he thinks
I think
better
that's a Rift Bolt that he was going to suspend, and now he's thinking better of it. Maybe he doesn't want to run that into a Teferi.
I think he just wants to crack the Sunbait Canyon and then just do a flurry of burn spells on his own turn to play through those counter spells.
Makes sense. Send some on the end step and then untap, send more.
Yeah. Dylan here, at 8 life, precarious 8 life, decides to play Mountain for the turn. We'll see if he plays anything or just holds up. Looks like he's going to go for the Omnath. Does Jordan have lethal in response? It costs 4, so there's no 2 damage from the Eidolon.
But there's also no land follow-up to gain life. This Omnath gets played early because Dylan realizes he needs a blocker for that Eidolon.
Right. He needs some way to interact with it, and a blocker is the best he can do right now. Looks like we're going to go Bolt Instep, and then we're going to go Fetch and probably crack the Sunbait Cannon. I'm pretty sure the last card in his hand is a Lava Spike. And with Dylan at 5 life, without some sort of pitch counterspell, which I don't think he has, all Jordan needs is a burst spell.
Force Negation would just trigger the Eidolon.
That's true, too.
And at 5, trading 3 for 2 doesn't make a difference.
All right.
This is the spot where Dylan got kind of punished for not using the counterspell on that Lightning Bolt, because now he's tapped out and doesn't have a chance to use it, but that's a land.
Yeah, we got to see if Jordan has the top deck here. Draws Mountain for the draw off the Sunbake. And another land.
Oh, no.
Is this Omnath going to hard carry 2 games in a row?
Oh, I had 2 draws at it.
2 draws at
dagger.
it. You have to imagine, maybe he's punching himself for not playing that Eidolon a turn earlier. That 2 damage off the Unholy Heat could have been relevant. That Monastery Swiss Sphere might still be around.
Yeah, Dylan only never triggered that Eidolon. On himself. So, if you play it on turn 2 and he Unholy Heats it, then you still got the Swift Spear dealing damage.
All right. Well, he kind of bluffed with an Eidolon, attacks, and Dylan plays the block with the Omnath. Yeah. The Lava Spike's going to send Dylan down to 2 life, and we're going to see if Dylan has a land. If he has a land, I think the game's going to be out of reach. 4 life a turn is very hard to deal with these burn decks. You can see with Dylan at 2 life, right now Jordan just 2 lands in hand, can't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's a desperation bluff there that really can't ever work because Dylan can't put himself to 3.
Yeah, we're gonna go an Ephemerate on the. Oh, he didn't have it. He went for an Ephemerate on Omnath, and
now the counterspell's live because you bluffed away the Eidolon. So this Lightning Helix just isn't gonna resolve.
That's so brutal, and because the Eidolon's not there anymore, the Ephemerate was cast. This is maybe a misstep from Jordan. We'll see. The bluff attack was now just going to end up being brutal. All right, another Ephemerate on the Omnath. We're going to draw another card. Find Solitude. I guess has the ability to exile his own creature to gain.
I believe that is still not another land. I think that was Solitude Chalice as the draw steps. So I imagine this is a Chalice on 1 hold-up counterspell turn.
Yeah, that seems the most likely. That Omnath should have Summoning Sickness, so he shouldn't be able to attack with it.
No, that got ephemerated on the upkeep.
All right, we're going to pause the match here and see if we can get that fixed. Give me just a second.
We've sent out our wonderful director, Taryn, to inform the players of their game rule violation.
All right, so we got that fixed. We're going to get the life levels updated for you in just seconds. Easy fix, and an easy thing to miss. That creature's been in play for, what, 4 turns now?
Yeah.
So, Ephemerate does blink it, so it does have Summoning Sickness. But Dylan decides to just pass the turn here, not going to play the Chalice of the Void. Counterspell on Lightning Helix, but no land from Dylan means that there's no life gain from this Omnath, so Jordan has a chance to peel. What does he draw? Looks like a Rift Bolt. Might be a Lava Spike. Passes the turn. What could it be? Dylan with a draw. Still no land. Attacks for 4.
Oh my. What was the draw step?
I don't know. It's a red card.
Oh, I think it was a Goblin Guide.
Ooh. Well, that might be lethal next turn with no land. We'll see.
But is
Eidolon.
Is this a Chalice turn?
No, just passes the turn. Goblin Guide here from Jordan. We'll see if Dylan has an answer. I think he has Counterspell in hand. We'll see if he decides to go for a Solitude. Another non-land on the top. Plays Ice Fang Quaddle. Gonna draw the Omnath. Gonna block. Not enough snow lands, just a chump block here. Post-combat.
Oh, but no mana to Counterspell now because we had needed 1 blue for the Ice Fang.
Yep. And we'll see if Dylan can draw a land here. Any land is money.
Once again punished for not casting those in the other order. If you play the Eidolon, it kind of forces interaction, and then your Goblin Guide probably gets through. But once again, no land.
No land from Dylan once again. He's going to send in with the Omnath. You cannot block. I don't think you can block. You have to go to 3.
Yeah, you still can play a burn spell that you draw at 3 life. That's perfect.
Yeah.
You're still alive.
4 mana. Another Omnath. We're going to play this as a replacement just to draw a card. Looking for a land.
No.
Still no land. It would have come into play so fast.
Oh, yeah. Any pause, you know, oh, it's a traverse. It's kind of like a land, but although against the Eidolon, it wouldn't have been relevant.
Now it has to be Solitude. It has to be Solitude.
Is that a Rolling Vortex?
It is a Rolling Vortex. This is not quite lethal. We can play it pre-combat, and that way, if it is the Solitude...
then you go to 1, and the Vortex itself isn't enough. I actually think playing the Rolling Vortex is going to punish him as well.
Perhaps. So we have an attack here. Finds the land. Now a Solitude.
Is there another white card?
There might not be another white card. He played the Omnath from hand.
No, there's another Omnath.
Another Omnath. Okay, so we're going to block the Eidolon. We're going to pitch the Omnath and Solitude, the Goblin Guide, and we're going to take 5 Rolling Vortex, and Jordan takes it down. He didn't Solitude in response to the Vortex, and he took 5 and died, dude. Ooh. Holy moly. What a round 1 match. Jordan takes it down 2-1. No lands in maybe the top 5 or 6 draws after resolving that Omnath. You have to feel for Jordan, or you have to feel for Dylan in this scenario, right? Like, you have this very powerful 4-drop. You have, 40 lands in your 80 card deck, and you just can't hit that 5th mana drop to make sure that you don't lose to burn. It has to be so frustrating.
Sure, there's the mulligan to 5 on Dylan's side, not hitting the land. There was also the turn on Jordan's side where he has 2 draw steps towards any burn spell.
Yeah, such a stick back and forth.
And it looks like both players got a little sloppy there at the end. I think maybe the pressure of this big tournament getting to both of them. But ultimately, Jordan able to take it down.